Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my roommate borrow my expensive headphones and then confronting her when she tried to take them without asking? I recently bought an expensive pair of noise-cancelling headphones. They're really important to me since I need them for studying in our loud apartment. My roommate Maggie asked to borrow them to use during her cafe shift, but I said no because I wasn't comfortable with them leaving the apartment. She wasn't happy and called me ridiculously protective. A few days later, I caught her taking them off the counter without asking. I immediately told her to put them back and I said I didn't trust her with my stuff anymore. Now she's mad at me saying that I'm selfish and now she's giving me the cold shoulder. One of her other roommates agrees with me, but the other one thinks it's no big deal to let her borrow them. I'm wondering if I overreacted by not letting her borrow them and also confronting her when she did take them. Am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole, OP. That's ridiculous. Yeah, like the top comment says, not the a-hole at all. No is a complete sentence and her response to being told no is to steal apparently. Do not leave your headphones out in the communal spaces again, unless they're on your head. Yeah, what? When they say they're not comfortable with them using their stuff, they just take it anyway and then they get annoyed at OP because OP doesn't trust them anymore. Hey, actions have consequences. The second top comment says, not the a-hole. Your belongings are up to you to decide when and if to share them. I'm also confused as to why your roommate requested to use them for working in a cafe setting, which is a job that requires human interaction and communication. If she wanted some noise-cancelling headphones so bad she could get her own. I can understand not having the money, but saving up some money for a few weeks and then getting them, or finding some cheaper ripoff. At bare minimum, you should always have first priority when to be able to use your own items without having to consult somebody else if no deals were previously agreed upon. She dismissed your response, broke your trust, and is now trying to victimize herself when caught. Yeah, you're not the bad guy here. This comment says, not the a-hole. Which part of the word no is she having trouble comprehending? How old is she that she doesn't understand that borrowing without permission is theft and stealing is inappropriate behavior? Yeah, like the comment below that says, which part of the word no is she having trouble comprehending? The part where she doesn't get what she wants. Yeah, the audacity of that. Either I need to stop saying that or we need to get some audacity merch or something. The audacity. So you're blaming me because I don't want my stuff taken without asking? This is my fault, is it? No, wait, actually, no, it's not my fault even a little bit. Of course you're not the a-hole, OP. Post number 2 says, am I the a-hole for laughing when my friend said that my boyfriend and I are doing a role play? Last night, my boyfriend and I were invited with a couple of friends to a seafood boil restaurant. I'm a bit picky when it comes to food, and one of the things that I hate is seafood. But my boyfriend is the total opposite of me. He doesn't have a problem with any food. I'm 21 and he's 24, so we went. He ate the boil with a couple of his friends since it was a larger portion, and I got a separate meal. He knows about my eating habits, and he always tries to get me to eat new food. It's just something that he does. Halfway in, he offered me a small piece of the lobster, which I've never had before, with his hand. It took a bit of convincing, but I did eat it, and he was watching me for my reaction when he kissed my temple. During, he was the one cracking the legs for me, and he kept giving me pieces. Near the end, before we left, I went to wash my hands, and my friend came with me. When we reached, she told me that I should really try to keep the role playing with him more private. I laughed out loud because I thought she was joking, but I see that she wasn't, so I was like, what? And she told me it's fine if we have a dynamic, it's just not appropriate at the dinner table. It's just not appropriate at the dinner table. I told her not to be ridiculous, and it's genuinely nothing like that. She got a bit mad and said how she saw what he did and how he looked at me, and that it's quite obvious. I told her that that's actually kind of insane, and it was totally innocent, and that she's wrong. Things were a bit weird between us after that, and my boyfriend and I left shortly after. Okay, I feel like this one is missing so much information, but it kind of makes it funnier. Yeah, like this comment says, not the a-hole, I'm very confused. Role-playing what? Being in love? Sharing bites off your plate with a loved one? Those are completely normal things. The comment below that says, I'm thinking BDSM with a master and submissive roleplay. Really? For real? From OP's partner feeding them some food, they got a master and submissive roleplay from that? I'm pretty sure that's a bit of a jump, isn't it? This comment says, not the a-hole. She's mad that somebody ain't feeding her little pieces of lobster. That's a love language. She's acting like you were sucking his fingers while he called you a good girl. Yeah, unless it was really weird and really awkward and there's a whole bunch of stuff that OP's leaving out, there's no way that's what that was. Like, alright then, have some lobster. OP's got a comment that says he only ever hand-fed me once, which was the first time, and that's because his gloves were all dirty and I didn't want to make my hands dirty. But the rest of the time, he put it on my plate. There's nothing wrong with that. That's ridiculous. There's something else going on here I don't understand. By the sounds of it, there's nothing out of the ordinary that happened. Like, there are comments here talking about public displays of affection and stuff, and maybe like there was too much of that. But also, OP doesn't say that either. It doesn't really seem like it was that bad. What was it? A kiss on the side of the head and feeding OP one time? Like, obviously, if they were going way over the top with the affection to the point where like it was embarrassing embarrassing. And everybody sitting there is like, oh, okay. But it doesn't really feel like that's the situation here. Like, by the sounds of it, it was barely anything. The fact that this even became an issue is sort of wild. One of the top comments says, ask her why she's sexualizing you. Tell her you're not comfortable being around her if she keeps on putting you in this kink box of hers. Problem solved. The comment below that says, it heavily depends on how long he had to spend playing the convincing my picky girlfriend to eat food game for. Yeah, like once again, if it was over the top and obnoxious and cringy, then yeah, that'd be a bit of a different story, but also it doesn't really feel like that's what happened. OP also has a comment that said, he asked me if I wanted to try a piece, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, with the sauce, does it taste different? That's what I meant by convincing. He only ever picked up the piece when I agreed. He didn't hold it in front of me waiting for me to say yes. He would have taken no for an answer, you know? And that's OP responding to this comment. It sounds like it came across as DDLG type stuff. You might not intend for it to come across that way, but I'd say not the a-hole, because at the basic level, this is your friend trying to tell you that your behavior was inappropriate. We weren't there, so it's hard to judge, but at minimum, you should consider what she said. You're not an a-hole for laughing, but you should still give it thought about whether your behavior was really appropriate for a public setting. The whole, it took a bit of convincing, but I did eat it part suggests very strongly to me that you behave a lot more like a child than you probably realize. And then, yeah, that's what OP said. He asked me if I wanted to try a piece, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And he said it tastes different with the sauce. That was it. Yeah, I feel like we're really in the dark with this one. It's so funny that we've got no idea really what even happened here, but we're trying to figure out what happened. All signs are leading to you being not the a-hole, OP. But I would like to know why the friends said what they said about it being role-playing and that sort of stuff. Like, what's their perspective on this? Moving on, the next one is called, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents move into my new house? We read a post like this yesterday, didn't we? I, 34 male, recently bought my first home after years of hard work and saving. It's a modest but beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, and I'm incredibly proud of achieving this milestone. My parents, both in their late 60s, currently live in a rented apartment, and while they're not struggling financially, they have expressed concerns about retirement and wanting a more stable living arrangement. After I announced my house purchase, they approached me with the idea of moving in with me. They said it would give them a chance to downsize and save money and spend more time with me. While I love my parents and I respect everything they've done for me, I was honest and I told them that I wanted this house to be my personal space. I've lived with them for most of my life and I was looking forward to having my independence. They didn't take it well. Oh, come on. You're not in the wrong for saying that, OP. That's completely understandable. The absolute last thing that you're going to want after working and saving to get your own house is your parents moving in. Of course you don't want that. Nobody wants that. That's not rude or anything. That's obvious, isn't it? Of course you want your independence. That's a lot of the reason why you're buying your own house. They accused me of being ungrateful and reminding me that they sacrificed a lot to support me through college and early adulthood. They even suggested that I owe it to them to give back now that I'm in a better financial situation. Some extended family members also chimed in, yeah, I'm sure they did, saying I should honor my parents by letting them live with me. Yeah, that's easy for them to say. I tried explaining that while I'm happy to help them in other ways, like assisting with rent or finding a better place for them, I'm not ready to share my home. It's not about them personally, it's about finally having a space that's mine. Despite this, they continue to pressure me, and now I'm starting to feel like I might actually be selfish for saying no. So am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents move into my new house? Absolutely not, OP. How you're feeling is completely understandable. And I feel like most people feel the exact same when they finally get their own place. Like, hey parents, I've been working towards this for ages. You're not taking that away from me. The top comment says, not the a-hole. The minute that you allow them into your home, they're going to try to go back to the parent-child relationship, and then they're going to try to control every aspect and have no respect for you. Do not do it. Save your sanity. Yeah, and despite what they said, OP, you're not an a-hole for saying no. Of course you're not. They're a-holes for saying that you're an a-hole for saying no. The audacity of them is wild. And yes, much as I wouldn't hope it was true, I do feel like that comment is true. Like the way that they're treating you, OP, and saying that you're selfish and getting upset with you and getting angry with you, saying that you owe this to them. I can't imagine they'd be very fun to live with if you did let them move in. They don't have a lot of respect for you now, OP. Imagine if they were in your house. Yeah, like this comment says, not the a-hole. You've got every right to have your own space. Yeah, if you saved up to buy a house, it's yours. Because let me tell you, once you start helping them, their entitlement is going to reach new highs. Just you watch. I've seen it time and time again. Stand your ground, keep healthy boundaries, and remember that they did their job as parents, and it's not for a payday at the end. They made those choices, and they need to be okay with them. And the comment below that, the payoff for being a parent is to watch your kids spread their wings and fly off, living a successful and independent independent life is the best thing to watch your kid do. Yeah, these parents are entitled. And that's such a good comment too. They should be so proud of you, OP. Not calling you selfish because you don't want them to take over your space. This comment says your kitchen will be your mum's kitchen. Your living room is going to be your dad's living room. Your TV will be their TV. Your schedule will be theirs to critique. Your design choices will become your mum's to approve. You'll be stressed, anxious, and second tier in your own house. Now, that being said, I look forward to the day I can offer housing to my aging parents in their late 70s and 80s. I'll have a bigger house, more space, and they'll likely need support. It'll be my choice. You're in your first house for the first time and your parents are healthy. This boundary doesn't need to be crossed yet. Shame on them for shaming you. Yeah, for real, shame on them. You don't need to feel bad about this decision, OP. That's super unfair, and yeah, definitely not the a-hole. Post number 4 says, am I the a-hole for not cooking a second meal for my younger siblings after they refused to eat what I made? I, 16 female, have 2 younger siblings, me a 9 female and Max 7 male. Our parents recently went on a quick meeting over the next state, but due to bad weather they got stuck. It's been a few days, and while they've been checking in, I've had to take over everything at home, including looking after my siblings. I don't mind helping out, but it's been exhausting managing schoolwork and chores and making sure everybody's not setting the house on fire. A few days ago, I decided to go all out and cook a proper meal for dinner. I made spinach and cheese lasagna from scratch, which took me hours between prepping and baking and cleaning up. I was really proud of it, and it smelled amazing, and it looked straight out of a food magazine. However, when I served it, Mia poked it like it was toxic waste. Max flat out said, "This is gross, I want nuggets." And we didn't have any nuggets or something to make for that matter. I was frustrated, but I stayed calm and I told them, this is dinner. If you don't want it, that's fine, but I'm not making anything else. They refused to eat and they just went back to watching TV. I figured they'd eventually get hungry and eat, but when I checked after, they still hadn't eaten anything. I still tried to push them, but eventually gave up because I had a pile of homework and I was already drained. Then fast forward to the next couple of days when my mum called. She asked if everything was okay, and I mentioned the lasagna incident. She got upset and said something like they have to eat something and that kids don't really like those things. I explained that I didn't have the time or energy to whip up a second meal when I'm juggling everything else. She got even angrier, saying that they haven't eaten much in days because they're too picky to eat what I've made. I get it, they're kids and I'm not a professional chef, but I feel like I've already done my part by cooking, cleaning and keeping them alive. I didn't sign up to be their personal short order cook, and for context, due to the weather, ordering isn't even an option. Am I really the a-hole for drawing the line and not making them something else when they refuse to eat? Edit, this didn't happen yesterday, it was around 5 days ago. I made enough lasagna to last a week so I wouldn't have to cook much. My parents are already home and the kids have already eaten. OP, by the sounds of it, you did such a good job here. The fact that your mum got angry at you is so wild. Yeah, like the top comment says, absolutely not the a-hole, and your parents should be grateful that you've stepped up and taken care of things on top of your other responsibilities. If they're so worried about your siblings not eating, they should call them and explain the situation and that they must eat. Age 9 and 7 are old enough to understand. Yeah, like this comment says, not the a-hole. Kids are difficult to manage under the best of circumstances. Your mum should be thanking you for everything that you've done, not getting upset with you. Yeah, I feel like your mum should be proud. Like you're handling everything on your own and you also cooked something nice. The siblings aren't going to forever eat like this. It's only until the parents were going to get back. Like all you're doing is trying to make do until they get back. And the fact that your mum didn't really realize that and then got upset at you, when yeah, your mum should be thanking you. OP left a comment that said, for the lasagna, I think it was just wrong judgment. I thought lasagna would have been a safe choice and I was probably just blinded by just wanting to make it. Yeah, I was a little stressed, but most of my new homework came after I made it. I do love cooking and I used it as a way as a refresher from all the stress. I mean, it's a lasagna. It's still something doable. It's hard, but as mentioned, I was really keen to make it. I promise it wasn't intentional. Yeah, the consensus here is definitely not the a-hole. There are definitely you the a-hole comments here, but yeah, I don't know. It's pretty extreme to call them an a-hole, I feel like. Like they were just making do until the parents came back. None of it's a huge deal. The parents should definitely be grateful that OP is handling everything so well. And I'm sure the lasagna wasn't the only thing they ate. You know, like it was just a dinner. OP also has this comment. I promised that I wasn't like trying to make a point with the lasagna. I thought my siblings would have loved it. And when I first saw the recipe, it looked really good. So I was shocked when they said they didn't even want to try it. I would have provided alternatives, but I did what I could. Mainly just snacks or cereal is what they had. Yeah, and they were fine, weren't they? Nah, by the sounds of it, you're not the a-hole. Yeah, I don't know. This one just does not seem like a big deal. Like everything was fine. And I really hope your parents are grateful for the stuff that you did, OP. Okay, the next one says, am I the a-hole for not giving up my husband's seat on a plane? This happened to us while flying to France out of Raleigh. My husband and I had booked our aisle and our middle seats together. While boarding, my husband got up to use the bathroom before the pre-flight announcements. As As we double checked our seat location, there was a woman already sitting in the window seat of our row with a baby. As soon as I put my purse in my seat to take off my sweater and settle in, her husband came over to sit in my husband's seat. He looked at me and said, "Oh, I need to sit next to my wife and baby." I responded without moving out of his way that that's my husband's seat and my husband was in the bathroom. He said, "Would he mind sitting in my seat?" and then proceeds to point all the way towards the back of the plane. I immediately responded, "I can speak on behalf of my husband and that would be a no." Both of them looked at me with confused looks on their faces, like I somehow didn't have a right to politely decline. Yeah, that sounds about right. Entitlement. Then they tried to get the flight attendant's attention, but as they did, the person sitting directly behind the woman with the baby lifted herself up from her seat and said, "If you knew you were flying with a baby, you should have made sure your seats were booked together." They both looked at each other and then the lady behind us and then blankly looked at me while they mumbled something about trying to just do that, but they couldn't for whatever reason. By then my husband was back and hers had already walked away. My husband sat down and I quietly told him what had just occurred, in case her husband might come back and ask him himself or bring the flight attendant over, and he was so glad that I didn't let his seat go. With it being a long flight and him having anxiety about flying, he definitely didn't want to be sent to the back of the plane alone, and I definitely didn't want to be sitting alone next to a couple with a small baby for hours across the Atlantic. But I was even more appreciative of the woman behind us who spoke up. Safe travels, everybody. Were we a-holes? The issue of whether or not we were came up recently when extended family members made statements about how we could have been more considerate to that family when traveling. Yeah, that's always the case too, isn't it? The family members putting their 2 cents in? No, you're not the a-hole, OP. I don't feel like that one needs to really be talked about. That's pretty obvious. The top comment says, "Seems like there's been a lot of aeroplane seat ones on here lately." The universal answer, you are never the a-hole for sitting in the seat that you paid for and were assigned. Yeah, end of story too. Like the nerve of some people. This one's not as bad as the one that we read the other day. No, that was yesterday, wasn't it? Where the person was calling them heartless because they didn't move for their daughter or something. That one was unbelievable. But yeah, oh no, I paid for my seat and I'm in my seat and this is my seat. I'm not in the wrong for not giving it to you. And the parents here know it too. They're just upset because they're not getting what they want. That's always the case with these two. Like some of these people are so entitled that they actually feel like they're right. But I feel like a lot of these people know that they're not right, but they're annoyed that they're not getting what they want. The next one says, "Am I the a-hole for unplugging my neighbor's Christmas lights from my house? Last year, my neighbor asked if he could use my outlet to plug one side of his lights. I didn't know and I said, let me ask my wife. She does all the lighting. I didn't hear back from my wife. Maybe I forgot to ask, but they had rejigged our lights to plug in theirs. We decided to let it slide. Christmas spirit and all. They do have an outlet at the front of their house. They need to use an extension cord to run lights to the other side. Essentially, you need a cord to run under your doormat. And that's also how we did it. So now this year, without asking, they plugged their lights in. We rejigged all our lights to use all the outlets and we left their Christmas lights. Just the ones on the right side of the house, unplugged and dangling. So I thought I'd get the opinion here. Am I the a-hole? Update. Thank you all for the great community. I appreciate the support. The neighbors ended up wiring their own extension cord in the end. No conversation or confrontation needed. I really liked a Lethal Ghost's idea to gift them an extension cord. Thank you. Wow, that would have been so funny. Merry Christmas. Here's an extension cord. But no, of course not the a-hole. They didn't even have permission. And they knew that they were in the wrong because they didn't say anything. They were like the neighbors. They finally unplugged our lights. They didn't say, "Oh, how dare you unplug our lights? You're not allowed to do that." I'm sure they knew that they shouldn't have been doing that. It'd be so funny if you still didn't say anything, but you do give them an extension cord for Christmas. Like, hey, let's settle this silly thing. Merry Christmas. Here's an extension cord. Okay, the next one says, "Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband and filing for an emergency custody order?" My husband and I, both 30s, married 5 years ago. Together, we've got a 3.5-year-old son, and he also has an 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son with his ex. Things with the ex were strained. She had 3 other children with a former partner who were 8, 7, and 6. My husband's ex died a year ago. For us, it was sudden, but she knew that she was sick. She told the kids that she was sick and told my stepkids not to tell us. Her former partner wasn't in the lives of the children they shared, and none of her family stepped forward. So my husband signed us up to take his ex's 3 children without discussing it with me. What? This was an issue for me. Yeah, of course. We argued about it and ended up talking about it a lot. I tried to work work with it to not cause more upheaval for my stepkids or to pull my son's family apart, but the mother's death changed my stepkids. They were bitter towards me and hateful towards their younger brother, and their younger siblings have also been incredibly hateful towards both of us, and there were dangerous things happening. My husband carried on working and left me to do most of the parenting, and he knew that would be the case before this. The caseworker that we had was helping with resources for therapy and grief support groups and stuff, but I had to document several incidents where one of the kids tried to harm my son. There were open threats made to harm him also. My husband would help me when he was home, but it was mainly still me alone with them. My stepdaughter told me a couple of months ago that her mum hated me, and she and her brother used to love me, but their mum knew that I was bad, and that she raised her kids to hate me. My stepdaughter also said that her mum told her that my son was never their brother, and they should never consider him equal to her kids. She said this to the caseworker too. The biological father of the kids started paying child support, but money isn't what I need. It got to a point where I couldn't leave my son out of sight. My husband wouldn't do more, and he argued when I said that I was going to express to the caseworker that having the 3 kids was too much. He told me that I'd make things worse if I did that, and that my stepkids would never forgive me or my son. So I spoke to the caseworker. I got her report and I left my husband and I filed for an emergency custody hearing. And with the proof from the caseworker, I've got temporary physical custody. My husband cannot see our son and I'm working out the divorce. Of course he's angry and he told me that I should have talked to him more first. Well, says you, dude. But our son's safety is my number one concern. While he's all worried that my stepkids are going to hate him for separating them from the other 3. His parents, who I always got along with, are also angry and they told me that it was a sleazy way that I handled myself. They said this even though they witnessed the harm that my son was at risk of. I hate that it got to this point, but I couldn't keep my son in that house anymore. Am I the a-hole for my actions? No, definitely not. All you're doing is protecting your son, and you have to. That's the right thing to do. My husband signed us up to take his ex's 3 children without discussing it with me. But then he has the audacity to say to you that you should have talked about this more. The top comment says, not the a-hole. Nowhere near the a-hole. Never the a-hole for protecting your son. Your soon-to-be ex is the a-hole for causing this situation without discussing it with you. You tried talking to him. Talking didn't work. And also, his parents can kick rocks. Protect your son, period. Yeah, that's completely right. OP tried talking to him and it didn't work. No, you're doing what you have to do here, OP, and you're definitely not the a-hole. Of course your husband is the a-hole. Yeah, causing this situation without even discussing it with you. That's so hard to believe. That's so ridiculous that he even did that. Yeah, also like this comment says, you told him numerous times. What did he want to do? Wait until they hurt him more because their mum was a poisonous, jealous... I'd stick to the divorce and have it so his other kids can't even see your son anymore. And if he wants to, he can leave them elsewhere. Yeah, you're very much not the a-hole, OP. You're never going to be in the wrong for protecting your son. And I'm so sorry that you're in this situation. Like, what an awful situation to be in. And to be honest, I don't have any idea what the husband even expected here. What else were you meant to do? Like that comment said, were you meant to wait until it got worse and worse and worse? Nah. Okay, the last one for the day. Who's gonna be the a-hole? Let's find out. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my half-sister any of our grandmother's jewelry after they excluded me for years? For context, I, 24 female, am the product of an affair. My father was married when I was born and his marriage fell apart because of it. My dad eventually divorced his now ex-wife, and his 3 kids, my half-siblings, 32 female, 30 male, and 28 male, have always resented me for it. I understand what happened between our parents was messy and destroyed their happy family, but I was just a baby, and they've punished me for it my whole life. Growing up, they excluded me from everything. They didn't want me around, made cruel comments when I was, acted like I didn't exist unless they were making me feel unwelcome. The worst part was when my mum passed away when I was 19. While I was mourning my mother's death, they openly celebrated. I found out they made jokes about how the trash took itself out and had a party less than a month after the funeral to celebrate. That broke me, and I've been no contact with them for years over it. Our shared grandmother wasn't much better. She wasn't outright cruel to me, but she clearly favored my half-siblings. They spent vacations and summers with her while they barely acknowledged me. She also made it known on more than one occasion that she wanted her jewelry to go to my oldest half-sister, 32 female when she passed away. As they're the oldest female grandchild in the family, since she never had any daughters of her own, it was well established to everybody that knew her that this was her intention. However, she didn't leave a notarized will, so legally her estate went to my dad as her only child. To my shock, my dad gave the entire jewelry collection to me. He said that he regretted how I'd been treated by the family, and he wanted me to have something meaningful. It was the first time he'd ever done something to truly acknowledge me, and I was so flawed. Now though, my half-siblings are furious, especially my oldest half-sister. She's demanding I give her some of the jewelry, claiming that since she was closer to our grandmother, and she'd always intended for her sister to have it, that it's unfair that I kept it all. She even said that I wasn't really part of the family, and has been calling me selfish and accusing me of stealing what was rightfully hers. I refused refused. I told her that after years of being treated like garbage, I'm not going to give up the one thing that my dad's ever done to acknowledge me. She accused me of being bitter and petty, saying that I'm using this to punish them for things that happened years ago. I'll admit, part of me feels like I'm finally getting some compensation for their horrible treatment of me. But the other part of me wonders if I am being petty or cruel by keeping it all, when the others were so much closer to her. So am I the a-hole? Edited to add due to some people making assumptions about my mother. She did not know my father was married originally. They married after my father's divorce because at the time my mother could not support the two of us by herself, and being an unmarried pregnant woman was a major cultural taboo for her. My father spent the majority of his time at home, when he actually bothered to come at all, trying to make it up to his children, my half-siblings, when it was his time with custody. As far as I'm aware, my mother never treated them poorly. They tended to ignore her, and she did the same when they were around our house. Yeah, like this comment says, your dad caused all of this grief by cheating. It's sad all around. F your dad. Yeah, the dad is the worst. And also don't give OP the jewelry. Is he trying to cause issues? Like by the sounds of it, the grandma did want the jewelry to go to the oldest half-sister, but OP's dad wanted to give OP the jewelry because he regretted how I'd been treated by the family and wanted OP to have something meaningful. Yeah, but like, did it have to be the jewelry? The comment below that one says, yeah, everybody is saying not the a-hole, but the trash father knew damn well that he was going against the grandmother's wish by not giving it to the eldest. Her siblings are a-holes, but OP and her father are also a-holes for not following a dead lady's wish on who she wanted her jewels to go towards. This comment says, your dad is the a-hole in every sense. He had the affair. They're right in being angry about that, even if it isn't fair to blame you. They should be doing more to blame him. Second, your dad has clearly done nothing to protect you from the consequences of his actions. If his family didn't want you around, then he should never have put you into a position to be abused by them. Again, they're rightfully angry. You should have gone your life with minimal interaction with them, but he forced you to be around them until you were an adult who could legally cut contact without his say. Third, he should not have given you that jewelry. If his mother hated you, then it was a grave insult to her memory to gift you that stuff. They are again right to be angry. Not angry with you, but to be angry. He created this drama and now you're suffering the consequences. I should point out that gifting you jewelry is crappy to you, not just his family. Your life has been crap because of his mistakes. Does a bribe really fix that? Can he buy your love and forgiveness? That's not compensation. He tossed you a hot potato drama bomb and he should have bloody known it. It's so obvious. Yeah, it really does seem like the dad is once again making it even more hard for OP. Yeah, like that said, the dad is the a-hole in every sense here. Over and over again too. This comment says, not the a-hole, but OP's father is truly the a-hole in the story. This needs to be a somewhat cautionary tale. Granny should have, while she was alive and kicking, simply give the jewelry to her favorite granddaughter. All of this waiting until a person dies just causes a lot of drama and toxic feelings. Yeah, it's so awful how the siblings treated you, OP. But once again, it's the fault of your dad because he didn't get you out of there. But yeah, the root of it is your dad. All of it. I feel so sorry for OP with how badly they were treated. But yeah, like that comment said, the dad did nothing about it. Didn't protect OP at all. And that's enough for today. That was a wild episode. I've got a cute, wholesome meme to show you. Just a little cute, simple one. A picture of my cat after not eating for 30 minutes. Oh my God. It's the most true thing ever. Oh no, I'm dead. I didn't make it. I can't believe it's been half an hour and you haven't fed me. The injustice. That's so cute. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a wonderful time today, guys. Make sure you let me know down below what you thought. And the comment of the day goes to Ash. When your 10-pound cat snores like a long-haul trucker. Oh, she absolutely does. It's so funny. She'll be dreaming about something and she'll be snoring so loud. Or like maybe not snoring, but like making some sort of weird noise. I think it is snoring, but it sort of sounds different. But yeah, Nez is so cute. And yeah, that comment is so accurate. Thank you for watching the episodes, guys, and thank you for the support. I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!